Every year, the rains come to Abuja, and every year we talk about flooding. But this year, the water has reached places it should not. Maitama, Usetu, Buzape, and Asokoro. Where some of the capital's most carefully planned districts begin to look like waterways, the question cannot simply be how much rain fell. The question is, what happened to the water's way out? Abuja was built around a master plan with designated waterways, drainage corridors, and floodplains. When those channels are obstructed or built over, the consequences are inevitable. The rain falls, but the water has nowhere to go. The FCT Minister Nyesom Wike has now ordered the demolition of structures obstructing waterways beginning in Maitama. But demolition raises another concern. Who approved these structures in the first place? A bulldozer can bring down a building. It cannot erase the approvals, decisions, or failures that allowed it to stand. Tonight on Dateline Abuja, we examine the flooding, the state of the capital's waterways, the demolitions underway, and the question of accountability. All that after our update on the major stories from Nigeria's presidency this week. This is Dateline Abuja. Hello and welcome to Dateline Abuja. I'm Kayla Magwa. We begin with some of the major stories from the nation's capital this week. A peace accord was signed, although the president was not personally present. He was represented by the secretary to the government of the federation, an absence that has generated political conversation. But that's not all unfolding in Abuja. Here's more in our Abuja wrap.
President Bola Tinubu has urged the governor of Osun State, Adhere, to promote unity, peace, and stability following his victory in the just concluded Osun State elections. The president gave this charge when he received the governor and his entourage at the presidential villa. Governor Adeleke, during the visit, presented a certificate of return to the president.
Where you are today, God put you there. Not the smartness of any of these people. It's just their support, not their smartness. It's the wish of God that prevailed and the wish of the people followed. Promote unity, peace, and stability.
As political campaigns for the 2026 general elections begin in Nigeria, the National Peace Committee is asking political parties and their candidates to ensure they run issue-based campaigns and shun fake news and disinformation, which are capable of undermining national peace. A member of the committee, General Martin Luther Agwai, who represented the chairman of the National Peace Committee, General Abdulsalami Abakar, notes that fake news and disinformation are already creating a toxic environment for the forthcoming general elections and asks politicians to caution their followers. The federal government is again assuring Nigerians that the decision to remove fuel subsidy is one of the significant decisions taken in the national interest of Nigerians. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mr. Mohammed Idris, gave the assurance during the presentation of Nigeria's Reform Scorecard at the headquarters of the Federal Ministry of Finance in Abuja. The minister says the federal government has stabilized the nation's economy since the removal of fuel subsidy. He adds that the federal government remains committed to improving the lives of Nigerians through sustained savings and financial prudence.
The removal of a fuel subsidy that was quietly bankrupting the country, and the unification of an exchange rate system that had become a source of arbitrage, distortion, and corruption rather than stability. Those decisions came at a real cost, and we're not here to pretend otherwise.
The Federal Executive Council has ordered a comprehensive forensic investigation into government processes and procedures following the revelations that trailed the activities of the controversial Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council. The Minister of Finance, Professor Taiwo Oyedele, disclosed this while speaking with journalists after the meeting, saying investigations by the ICPC had uncovered additional fictitious bodies within the system.
Welcome back. Flooding in Abuja is not new, but its growing presence in Maitama, Wuse 2, Guzape, and Asokoro raises questions beyond rainfall. The FCT administration has begun demolishing structures obstructing waterways following the FCT minister's directive. But beneath the demolition lies a bigger question of planning, enforcement, and responsibility. Who approved? Who built? Who failed to enforce? At the unveiling of the 2026 Annual Flood Outlook on April the 15th, 2026, it was noted by the Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency that 14,118 communities in 266 local government areas across 33 states and the FCT fall within the high flood risk category this year, while 923 communities across 77 local government areas in 24 states are expected to record minimal flooding. 405 local government areas within 35 states fall within moderate flood risk areas, with Ekiti State being the only exception. The Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency put together the outlook focusing on community-based flood forecasting, which means forecasts are tailored to specific communities for quick intervention.
Our precision from last year's flood to this year's flood is 80, if I'm not mistaken, 88%, which is far above WMO standard.
A few weeks ago in Abuja, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, in collaboration with the Federal Capital Territory Emergency Management Department, flagged off the 2026 National Disaster Preparedness and Response Campaign with a stakeholders' engagement, community sensitization, and flood risk assessment aimed at strengthening disaster preparedness and response. Areas covered included Mabushi Phase 2 and Damangaza, Lukugoma, particularly the Mabushi Canal behind Los Angeles Mall, where encroachment on the natural water channel was identified as a major factor contributing to flooding in that area. On Saturday, the 15th of August 2026, heavy rainfall hit the nation's capital, leading to major flooding in places like Maitama, Wuse 2, Guzape, Asokoro, and parts of the city center. Roads were submerged, cars trapped, and transport was badly disrupted. Videos like this showing the level of destruction by the floods went viral. The FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, in response, inspected the sites and ordered the demolition of structures blocking waterways, blaming the flooding on building violations and drainage blockages. Ganges Street in Maitama District is one of the worst hit affected areas by the flood that affected parts of the nation's capital over last weekend. According to eyewitnesses, the blocked waterway led to the heavy flood as workers collect the sand deposited by the flood. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Nyesom Wike, arrives the area to inspect the situation.
800 that is installed. And so the channel itself and the 800.
So the whole of this fence is part of it.
Part of this fence and then part of
A perimeter fence was impacted by the flood.
There's a drainage here, but if you can see, there's a construction going on there. And as a matter of fact, that particular place, I think, is even condemned. There's no, they have not lived any way that water will be passing. So I think that should even contribute to what is happening here.
Another part of the district affected by the flood is Nile Street, where structures are blocking the flood path. The minister's entourage made another stop on Mississippi Street within the same district, which is a highbrow area in the nation's capital. The minister then returns to his office to brief journalists on his observations during the tour.
Unfortunately, we have gone there and we have seen how people have blocked channels where in the master plan, that is the right way where water is supposed to be channeled. People by their positions have blocked it, believing that nothing will happen. I have told people this in life, that nothing happened yesterday does not mean that something will not happen today. That it did not happen today does not mean it will not happen tomorrow. Now you have done your own by blocking the water channel and nothing has happened. Thank God the flood has come. He has drawn our attention to the place. Now something will happen. I'm going to bring those houses down. Any house that's found on the channel, water channel will go down. From today to Saturday, if the development controls the like, let them find any excuse to run away. They cannot. I thought the development control is here. Thank God you're here. Because if you are on the way to find excuses.
Mr. Wike explains how the flood is caused by human effort, adding that the government is determined to correct the errors.
Let nobody make mistake that this government lacks the political will to do anything. The person must be making a very big mistake. If there's one minister that has that political will, I have the political will. And what has happened today will show Nigerians that we have the political will to tackle those man-made factors. It doesn't matter who is responsible. It doesn't matter how high place you are. People have come out on television to shout, oh, of all the areas we have gone to, mention anything there that's caused by a poor person. All those built-up areas that are not supposed to be built up, no single poor person will live there. Those houses are houses built by well-to-do Nigerians. Those houses are not houses that are built now as we came. Those houses have been there 10 years ago, 8 years ago.
Following the order of the minister, officials of the FCT Department of Development Control swing into action by removing all the structures along the flood path in the district. In addition to the demolitions, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Nyesom Wike, has banned car dealers from using parks and green areas for their business. Speaking during the inspection of some ongoing projects in the nation's capital, Mr. Wike stated that the move is part of efforts to tackle the issue of flooding in the territory. Mr. Wike, while explaining that the green areas and parks should not have been allocated to the car dealers in the first instance, revealed that his administration is currently carrying out investigations to unravel those behind the allocations. He also reveals that a director has been queried.
This morning, the director of Urban is being queried now. For giving approval to car dealers to use the green areas for sale of cars. You can imagine everywhere you have green, you have vehicles now. So I've already stopped it and I've set up a task force to make sure that every car dealer is moved out of the green areas. If you want to sell your car, you go and purchase somewhere or rent somewhere and then develop it, not where you see green. You just go and start selling cars or where it's supposed to be recreation parks. You turn it to be car selling point. We'll not accept that again. So we are very serious. And I can tell you, we're not going back. It doesn't matter who is affected. It doesn't matter who is affected. We're serious about it. We're happy with what we're seeing today, going to Tunda Madaki down to Zuba. Out of the 6 deep culverts, they've done 5, remaining the last one, which is commendable. And the contractor, CCCC, has also promised, by the grace of God, they are also going to hand over that project. Now we're in the university. We've seen the work going on. We believe that they will also keep to their promise by the grace of God, December.
When the nation's capital begins to look like a canal, it's not just an act of rain. It is failure by design. Bulldozers may clear errant structures blocking waterways and destroying green spaces. But what about the signatures? The complicit in government who puts those structures in harm's way? My guest tonight is Mrs. Nkechi Issa, the head of publicity for the FCT Emergency Management Agency. She joins us to explain what FEMA has found about the flooding, the condition of Abuja's waterways, and where responsibility lies. Nkechi Issa, welcome to Dateline Abuja.
Thank you for having me here.
All right, so let's get to the point.
Yeah.
This flooding, where did it affect in the nation's capital?
It affected quite a lot of districts. Mabushi district, Wuse 2, Maitama, Guzape, Jabi, some parts of Katampe, particularly the part that leads Aso radio axis, some parts of Gwarimpa, Nyanya, Karu, and some parts of Jikoyi.
When the flood advice, because if you've stayed in the nation's capital long enough, you know every year,
yeah, it's a recurring thing.
It's a recurring thing, and they give us a flood advisory.
Yeah.
When the flood advisory was given, because a lot of places you mentioned are inside the city center, was Wuse, Guzape, all these places, Maitama, were they mentioned?
They talked about Amak, and that's...
so they said Amak?
Yes.
Okay.
And these places are under Amak.
Okay.
They mentioned some specific areas, but some of the areas they mentioned, flooding happened there, but some of these other places I mentioned were not even mentioned in NISA annual flood outlook.
So the strange thing for the FCT residents was seeing, I can't call the name of the place, but that place along Adetokumba Demola that has the barbing salon that a lot of men go to. Yes, it will say that has the bar that a lot of people go to, and has that supermarket that a lot of people go to. The idea that that place was submerged, I don't think that's ever happened in the history of the FCT. Has that ever happened?
Not that I'm aware of, no. But what happened there, as a monitoring and special duties unit went there post-flood assessment, and we found out that there are a lot of drainage systems. They were blocked totally.
Inside that, we say?
Behind those structures.
So where the hotel is?
Yes.
On the way to the APC secretariat?
Yes.
Okay, so those drainages, you say they are blocked?
They are blocked.
Okay.
What happened there is totally man-made. Blocked drainage system, and then the storm water does not have anywhere to go through. And then, of course, it comes on the road, causing flooding. Don't have total... We're still collating our reports. They have not briefed me yet. There may be some structures that constricted the flow of water in that area. That's what we discovered in most of the places we visited, like in Mabushi, Anthony Kemp Street, where we had a distress call at about 3 a.m. and we had to go there. And the people in this particular residential building, the ground floor was totally submerged. Luckily, there was no loss of life, but we had to use pumps to pump water out of that house. And it happened in so many other structures there. And we advised those people to relocate. Now, what I've noticed about development in Abuja is that they do not respect the approved setbacks.
That's the developers?
Yes. The setbacks laid out by the Department of Development Control. For when there's a little stream, and that's what you have around Abuja, I'll call them
little streams, yeah.
It's supposed to be 30 meters from
a residential.
But you see, this is the stream, and the houses are here. They'll just use a kind of fence.
Yeah.
You have seen it in Dogongada. You were with us.
I was with you in Dogongada. I also saw it in Apo, in parts of Apo, where they'll just put a fence.
Very strange.
And then the houses are right next to the stream.
Very close to it.
Yeah.
And then when something happens, and then the funny part of this is that at the other end of the stream, some people are even dumping sewage. They are dumping refuse. They are dumping all kinds of things. We're not talking about building collapse. But if you were at Gudu, when that building collapsed, I was looking for where to sit down and do my report. And I sat down very close to a stream. I'll call it a stream. And They are people's houses. They just use this kind of heavy concrete. I'll call it an embankment.
They're trying to stop water from entering. So basically,
but that's another disaster.
So that moves the water elsewhere.
It now constricts the water. The water channel becomes narrowed, and water must eventually find
its level. That's just what water does.
So we've been going around to, and we've been writing to the appropriate authorities. When we went to Mabushi, apart from that, Anthony came. Some people came to our office with pictorial complaints about the activities of a particular developer. I would even call that place a canal near Los Angeles Hotel.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry, I shouldn't even mention the name.
It's okay.
There's this green area behind that place. And somebody went and did this concrete slab and diverted water away to affect other people. That's what happens. When there's a flood, it doesn't even affect the developer that has diverted water.
It affects where the water has been diverted to.
And this water, when the rains came, there was flood, and it affected some innocent persons. And they were aggrieved. They came to the office, and we went there. And I'm happy to report that when we went back for post-assessment, there's been a stop work order posted on that
area.
Yeah.
Places in Maitama. Am I right in saying Mississippi Street?
Yes.
And all those places.
I wasn't on the minister's entourage.
Okay, because I saw the minister go towards that. And in truth, if you've been in Abuja long enough, you would know that when you go to houses in some parts of Maitama, you can smell the dampness.
Yeah.
It's dank.
Yeah.
You can smell it. And I've always wondered who gave the approval for a house to be built in a place.
Department.
That's the land department. So
I don't work for the land department.
I know, but at least we've pointed out where that came from. The fact that people were able to get approvals from the land department to build in those places. So it's only natural. Like when I saw the FCC minister at Mississippi Street and all those other places in Maitama, it's almost like we've been postponing the evil day.
Yes. What's the directive the minister has given that they should remove these structures? It's a kind of flood risk reduction intervention. It's really going to help our work.
The FCT, green areas being used, being concretized, the concretization of green areas. And we've heard the FCT minister on several occasions talk about how I am going to deal with these developers because they've been doing it with impunity. And like I think on one of our star programs, I said it's greed. The way a developer thinks is how can I make the most. So if I can build through whatever false documents while we're delaying, FCDA will mark, they'll paint over it, FCDA will mark, they'll paint over it.
Do you know the funny thing?
They'll try and do that they'll try and build and recoup their money and make their profit.
That's what I was going to.
Yes, they make the profit in 5 years. Well, maybe you can explain it better. Let me know.
People call them briefcase developers. They don't even have permanent offices.
Yeah.
Most of them don't even live in this country. They get the land, they build, and they sell outright. And then they leave the people that bought it in pains.
They say distress sale. So you say a house that's supposed to maybe cost you about 100 and
but
something
then people
million.
should begin to be informed. You need to check before you buy a property or before you even rent a house. Ask questions. Ask about the environment. Is it very close to the floodplain? All these waters that we see and we just say is a small stream. Somebody has constricted it and reduced it. Try to narrow it down so that they can build on that place. So you ask questions. People should ask questions. And then if you live in an estate where there's a place that's been reserved, like a green area, and then you suddenly see the developer of that estate building there, please say something. Report to the appropriate authorities.
Has the minister seen your report yet?
We submitted
You submitted the report yesterday. So
it has to go through the PAMSEC, to the head of service, then to the minister.
And it's a report that has the details of what you found.
Our recommendations and everything.
So what next?
What next? You know, our work is mostly emergency.
Yeah.
You rescue people and all that. We cannot remove structures, but we have identified structures that we feel have been built on the water channel. In the past, when we have submitted such reports, the coordinator of the Abuja Metropolitan Management Council steps in immediately. Even in Guzape here, they have removed some structures. In some parts of Mabushi, that's where they have a lot of this kind of illegal developments, let me call it like that, where people build very close to the water channel. This is the water channel, there's a house there. It's almost like they now reduce the water to a gutter.
Meanwhile, it's flowing.
Yes. You won't even believe that it's a river. So we have written our reports. The coordinator then, Chief Amechi Obua, acted immediately and some of these structures were removed. We have continued sensitization, which is one of our recommendations. We have to keep talking to people, not just in the city center, even in the area councils. There are a lot of infractions there too.
There are going to be more demolitions, aren't there?
Well, not necessarily demolition. It's more of people not environmental degradation, people dumping wastes indiscriminately. Yes, people also build along the river channel, but we have told them to relocate because we have been at pains to educate FCT residents. When you see a pool of water, please do not drive into it. I saw some of those videos trending. I don't think all those vehicles were parked there.
Some of them were moving.
They were moving. Why? That's a storm water. It can take you somewhere that you didn't expect. You don't even know if there are stones in that water. And then what about the cost to your vehicle, even your life? So we have been at pains to tell people when there's a flood and your road is submerged, please wait or look for an alternative route.
It's peak period.
Yeah.
Your phone. They will not allow your phone to rest this period. But we want to thank you for the work that you all do and for your reporting on this matter. We'll be keeping tabs with your office to see what's going on. And good luck with all the work you have ahead of you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thanks to my guest and to everyone who spoke to us today on the program. The water may recede, but the questions will remain. Who approved? Who built? Who failed to enforce? And who will be held accountable? Because flooding may begin with rainfall, but the vulnerability of a city is often determined by decisions made long before the rain falls. Please, let us know the happenings in your neighborhood using the social media handles showing right now on your screens. Thank you so much for watching. I am Kayla Magwa. See you next time.